Hello, lovelies. Welcome to Horror 421, the podcast, with your host, your friendly small-town horror author, Charles Campbell. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the frights in this week's episode.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to a special review episode of Horror 421, the podcast. This episode is going to review the movie that just came out. I've seen it twice now, and it's called Evil Dead Rise. And I must say, as being a longtime Evil Dead fan, I was blown away by this film. I loved every minute of it. Lee Cronin is the writer and director of this movie, and he did an excellent job of moving it out of the confines of the woods into the confines of an apartment building. And the way he set it up was brilliant, and the way he executed the story was brilliant. So the movie centers around a family, and there are two sisters, and one is a guitar technician. She works for a band, and she hasn't been in touch with her older sister for a while. And so after a gig of which she finds out something that's pretty surprising and unexpected for her, I'll try not to spoil it too much. I won't call this a spoiler-free review, so if you haven't seen the movie, make sure you go check it out, but I'll try not to go into too many super details if you do continue to watch the review. But after she finishes a show, she decides to go visit her sister, and when she gets there, she finds her sister's life is in a little bit of chaos. Her sister is played by Alyssa Sutherland, and Beth is played by the guitar technician, is played by Lily Sullivan. So Lily Sullivan's character goes to visit her sister, Ellie, and upon visiting her, she finds out that Ellie's family is in a little bit of turmoil because the patriarch of the house, the father, has left, and so he's left Ellie alone to raise three kids, and she's there to raise Bridget, Daniel, and Cassie, and Cassie is the youngest. And so while they're visiting, and Ellie, Ellie wants to bring Beth up to speed on what's been going on a little bit. She sends the kids off to get pizza. And while the kids are gone, they have the discussion about what's happening, and why she has to move out of the apartment and whatnot. And they're waiting on the kids to return. All of a sudden, there's an earthquake. So there's a 5.5 Richter scale earthquake that happens just when the kids get back with the pizza. So long story short, the earthquake causes a giant hole in the bottom of the apartment building, opening what used to be a bank vault. So the high-rise apartment building used to have a bank. And so Daniel, being the dumbass that he is, he goes into the hole to see what's down there. His sisters are, asking him to come out. So he finds one of the Necronomicon books, and in all his wisdom, he decides to pack it up along with a vinyl recording and take it back up to the apartment with them. So he takes it back upstairs, and the chaos starts to really happen. He tries opening the book. His sister is telling him it's creepy. He cuts his hand accidentally when he's trying to open the book, and drops of his blood get onto the top of the book. And the book is encased with rows of sharp teeth, and those teeth open, which is what he cut his hand on, and the book opens. And so, his sister makes him promise to put it back where he got it the next day, yada, yada, yada. And of course, he doesn't listen, as many boys do. We don't listen very well. He decides he's going to play the record that came with the book. And while he's doing that, his mother, Ellie, she goes to do the laundry. And yeah, he plays the record and he releases the Evil Dead. And then it takes off like a freight train. So Ellie gets possessed. She comes back up to the apartment. She's saying some crazy, nonsensical things to them as she's, trying to scramble the bloodiest eggs you've ever seen in your life. And she basically collapses, tells Beth, "Don't let them take my babies." And they think that's it. They think she died. They try to get her out of the apartment. But of course, this being an Evil Dead movie, there's no way out. The stairs are gone. The elevator doesn't work. So they drag her back to the apartment. And in the meantime, they've had neighbors come out and check and see what's going on. And basically, that's how the craziness gets kicked off. And Beth thinks her sister is dead. The kids are going crazy. Daniel knows it's his fault. Bridget, the middle sister, she knows it's his fault. And they get Ellie in the bed, and her sister's talking to her. One of the neighbors has a little prayer for Ellie. And then, everyone kind of goes away, and it's just Ellie and Beth. And Beth's talking about her regrets and how she was always, how Ellie was always there for her. And her eyes open. And Ellie's like, "What?" And Beth is like, "What?" And she blinks and she sits up, and it just starts going off the rails from there. So it turns into a fight for survival. The Evil Dead has completely possessed the mother, and it is her mission to possess and infect everyone around her, starting with her kids. And she basically gets trapped outside of the apartment at one point after battling with Beth and her own children, infecting one in the process. So she did infect Bridget, which comes out a little later in the movie. And so basically, Ellie's stuck in the hallway where she has new fodder to kill because the neighbors come out, and Beth is watching all this chaos through a peephole. So Ellie's laying slaughter to everyone outside. But the camera work and the emotion emitted by Beth and the kids, especially the little girl that plays Cassie, she did an amazing job. A lot of times it's tricky with child actors, but she knocked it out of the park, and all the kids played really good roles. So the chaos starts there, and it's nothing but blood and murder and chaos and just the stuff you expect from an Evil Dead film. There's an elevator scene that is off the chart. If you like Gallons of Blood, you will love it. I won't go into too many other details of the movie. I've kind of set up the beginning and how things started to happen. But after that, the way that the kills are executed, the dialogue, just the mean, nasty dialogue from Ellie to really cut into those other characters is just it's really disturbing. But being a fan of Evil Dead, that's what I expect. It does have a lot of nods to Evil Dead, Evil Dead 2. If you love the chant Dead by Dawn, you're going to get it in this movie. And I actually loved it. The final battle, which I won't spoil, was set up beautifully, and it's kind of hinted at in the Book of the Dead when it's flipped through earlier when Daniel has it. But yeah, the way they pulled it off was really, really good. There are a lot of practical effects. There are some CGI effects, which obviously I think they had to do because of the way it was set up, but I think it's mostly practical. And you get a lot of the things that I loved from Evil Dead 2013 and from the original films. So for me, it was a solid watch. I would definitely give it a heavy 4 out of 5, maybe even 4.5 out of 5. I really don't have any real complaints about it, nothing to nitpick. Maybe it ran just a little long with the setup in the beginning because it started off with a blaze of fire. Then you got all the intros and the setup, and it maybe could have shaved 5 or 6 minutes off of that to cut the runtime down just a bit. But that's a nitpick. For me, it was definitely a solid 4 out of 5. And I'd recommend any Evil Dead fan to go check it out. It's Evil Dead Rise. Lily Sullivan, she did an excellent job as basically the lead in the movie. And I would love to get her on this podcast one day. So if she's listening, come on. Alyssa Sutherland, same. Oh my gosh, she made a great Deadite, and her mannerisms and her facial expressions really captured the essence of an Evil Dead movie. But that is my quick review of Evil Dead Rise. Tell me what you think in the comments, and I'll start doing a little more of these movie reviews, but it'll be a standalone Horror 421, the podcast review edition. So anyway, thank you guys. Continue to listen and subscribe. You can find me at Charles Campbell Author on Instagram and Facebook, valleyboypublications.com if you want to purchase any of my books. And yeah, I'll see you next time when I do another movie review. And be sure to check out my regular podcast. We've got a lot of amazing guests on this season of Horror 421, the podcast. Thank you for your time and take care.
We hope you had a horrific time, lovelies. Thank you for tuning in to Horror 421, the podcast. Be sure to like us on YouTube and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.